We're glad you're here with us this evening for this forum that's put on by the Caddo County Chamber of Commerce and the Public Policy Committee. The Public Policy Committee at the Chamber does this event, also does the mayor's event and police chiefs, education, and other things. So if you're not involved at the Chamber or not involved in the Public Policy or Public Affairs Committee at the Chamber, we encourage you to get involved. We'd love to have you be a part. So tonight I'm going to go over the schedule from 5 to 5:30 approximately. We're doing the sheriff candidates. The candidates are Fallon Hurst, Chris Apple, and Darrell Collins. 5:40 the revenue commissioner, which will be Tim Hodges and Jacob Williamson. 6 to 7 the county commissioners, districts 1, 2, and 4. The candidates in District 1 are Jackson Hodges and Fred Wilson. District 2 is Danny Shears and Bud Turner. District 4 is Terry Howell and Toby Burke. We also have another one coming up, District 32, Thursday, April 23rd here. That would be for the candidates Joey Callahan, Deborah Foster, and David Reddick. And then Monday, May 4th at the Jacksonville Public Safety Complex for District 40 in the Alabama House of Representatives. That will be Bill Lester, Bill McAdams, Chad Robertson, Casey Cavender, and Pam Howard. The rules have been mailed out to the candidates, but we've had a discrepancy in that, so we want to clear that up from the start. We've had two different rule sets that went out. One said that there were no notes to be used or brought in. The printed one that got sent out to most did have that in there. So if candidates bring notes, they will be allowed to have them. So that was just a mix-up from using two different sheets, and so we felt like that the only thing we could do is start out from the onset of saying that. So the rules, the candidates have all received a copy of the rules for all the events tonight, and we'll go through just some of them that were left for your information. The questions will be will begin. Subsequent questions will be addressed for the immediate next person. We'll rotate that through the ones that are in for whatever particular position they're running for. In this case, it'll be the sheriff's office. The questions will be read only once to all candidates. Subsequent candidates should make note of all questions and be prepared. The chamber will provide pen and paper for notes. Candidates to ensure most of the time with the audience to hear the candidates' thoughts, we ask that you refrain from being asked the question to be asked again unless it is absolutely necessary. The candidates will be given 2 minutes unless changed by the moderator or the timekeeper to answer. A warning of 30 seconds will be given by a signal. Upon expiration of the time, the stop signal will be given. The moderator will interrupt you nicely, as long as you allow him to, for the next response. If an opposing candidate mentions another candidate by name, at the moderator's discretion, the named candidate will be given 1 minute to respond. Some clarification on that: if someone just casually mentions a name and there's not anything negative associated with it, that will probably not, depending on the context, be allowed for rebuttal. If something that is negative toward the candidate is mentioned by name, then rebuttal time will be given. Any interruption by a candidate when another candidate is on the clock, candidate will be given a warning and will be asked to leave the forum upon the second offense. The candidates will be given 2 minutes for a closing statement at the end of the question portion of the forum, and the candidate will be given a warning of 30 seconds by the signal, and upon expiration time they will be asked to stop at that point in time. So we have the questions there in the envelope. I'll go down and open those and we'll get started. And the original order that we'll go was from Sheriff Hurst, Mr. Collins, and Mr. Apple, in that order to start with, and then we'll alternate it from there.
Start your time when you get to the podium.
I can pull it off.
So, is this on? So, to answer about the questions, so as you can see, we had those in a sealed envelope. The public was able to submit questions to the chamber, and then a task force was designed to come up with the questions individually from that. And they're being opened at the starting point tonight. So the first question is to Mr. Hurst. Law enforcement, deputy, or officer retention is a big problem across the country. What is your plan to recruit, retain the best and brightest deputies?
Well, we've already done it. So the sheriff's office typically stayed pretty chronically short, 6 to 8 deputies short all the time, which is more than one patrol shift. The jail used to stay about 20 corrections officers short or so, to the point that deputies would have to work in the jail, which causes deputies to quit. Dispatch, the same thing. The clerks always pretty well stay full. We have created opportunities inside the jail, or inside the entire sheriff's office. We've, most of it was attributed to, there are opportunities to get off of patrol, and that's where the churn is on the bottom, it's on patrol. We've added detective positions around the jail, around one in the jail. One is a couple of federal task forces. We have, we've created a CAT team that's out to doing things. It's a fun job, a cool kid job, things they like to do that gets them out of the daily grind. Those opportunities are the types of things that keep people around. We've actually hit full a couple of times now since I've been sheriff, which has never happened the entire time I've been there, 16 years. I'm talking the entire agency, side to side, all 149 positions. And that is with adding 5 deputy positions. We've added 5 deputy sheriff positions since I've been there. And some of those have been funded through grants. We've got grants to pay for a couple of those that have absolutely no cost to the county, with the exception of training and equipment and things like that. So it all comes down to opportunities, and let them know that you care and that they've got an opportunity to do things and learn and grow. And that's about it.
Thank you, Mr. Hurst. Now we'll go to Mr. Collins.
So one of the fundamentals of any kind of great law enforcement agency is officer retention, obviously. So a couple of measures that I've seen that have been used in great detail in my 30 years in law enforcement would be to equip, train, and lead the best and the brightest, like it was mentioned. How do you do that? If I have to send somebody, a new guy, a rookie, through the academy, bring them on brand new, they need mentorship, they need leadership training. I would like to set the standard to where if I bring somebody in new, they retire from there, they start out fresh, they retire from there as a captain or chief deputy or sheriff at some component. There's some component there of mentorship. There are a plethora of younger deputies there currently working. There are a couple of young supervisors. One of the better leadership classes I ever attended in my career was the FBI First Line Management course, and that was taught out of Birmingham. It equips you to make decisions, and it equips you to lead your shift, to lead your team. And they also need to know that the supervisors have their backs. They need to know that their bosses will support them in their endeavors. They also need to know where they stand if they mess up or make a mistake. Every disciplinary issue doesn't necessarily have to be dealt with harshly, but they do have to be dealt with. And it's all important. It's all important. It's important to hire, train, and lead these young men in their jobs, their careers.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Mr. Allen.
Retention has always been an issue, even from my time at Anniston, where I first started policing. They hired a big group of us of 11, and most patrol shifts were short, and so about every 2 years you'd have somebody leaving. And just when somebody puts in to get hired, somebody's putting in their 2-week notice to quit. It's been the trend back even just 10, 15 years ago, was you had one position open and 200-300 people would go and apply for a spot at the one shot at that position. And so today there's the current saying is, police, we wear bulletproof vests, and it goes around the front and the back. And the current thing is the front of the vest is for outside the agency, and the back panel of the vest is for inside the agency. And I think if we take better care of our people, treat them right, make their lives easier, because as a law enforcement officer, when it was a lot of times I was at the job more so than I was at home, between the trainings and staying over shift for late calls. So if we can improve quality of life for our deputies outside of the office as well as inside through giving them trainings, taking care of them, treating them right, treating them with respect, and not looking for every opportunity to throw somebody under the bus for your own personal gain. I think if we do that and show it's really supportive and caring system, that we really have people's backs, not just blowing smoke, it'll bring high quality people and make high quality people.
Thank you. The next question, Mr. Collins, is the artist for this one. So the question is, currently the sheriff is managing 2 jails, one for male prisoners and one for female prisoners. The sheriff's responsibilities is current plans to add a health facility with a whole new level of employee management. It will be a strain on the budget at best. What are your plans to make this situation a more efficient operation?
One of my first plans would be to actually go through the county attorney's office and request an audit. Request an audit to figure out where each dime is spent, where each penny is spent. Where can we more efficiently use taxpayer funds? That's across the entire department, that's across the jail. Employee retention falls under that as well. But we need to know where the money is, how it's being spent. You're always going to have a more efficient spending system if you know what is wasted.
Thank you. Mr. Apple?
So it's the jail is always a revolving money pit between it being older and a lot of stuff breaking, and along with, I don't know how many times I've been dispatched to the jail to go take reports for inmates breaking lights or being mad at COs and plugging up the toilets and flooding whole sections. So it's a constant issue, and putting a lot of money into it to make sure that everything gets fixed. And like Mr. Collins said, an audit to see where the money's going was kind of the plan, so that we can cut unnecessary costs across the agency, put money where it needs to go, so that we can be good stewards and financially responsible with your money, so that we can so we can keep our COs safe, our deputies safe, but also provide good living conditions for the inmates. Because at the end of the day, they're still human. Some of them are in there for some really bad stuff, but they just want to be treated with respect and decency, and I think that's what we should give them. And by being able to take care of them and give a good facility with a more equipped medical wing, it'd be great. So financial responsibility, cutting corners of useless spending, or cutting out useless spending, and putting it where it actually matters is what's going to fix it.
Thank you. Mr. Hurst?
Well, to answer the question, running 2 jails, there are some difficulties with it. We have to divide staff between the 2. If we could bring them back to 1 jail, it would be ideal, because we'd have a couple people there every shift. We don't have to run 1 kitchen, 1 laundry. Right now we have to run 2. But the fact of it is that we need the space. The jail is undersized. It has been undersized, and the county has been working on it to add cells to grow it. The medical section adds about 96 beds. We'll have a dedicated female unit now. There's no additional cost associated with staffing it. It's the same nursing contract that we have. It's the same amount of corrections officers that we have. It's just simply more places to put people that we didn't currently have. Ideally, I would like to shut the city jail and come back to just in the county jail, but it's not a feasible opportunity right now. And it's really not costing us anything. The county and the city have a deal worked out to offset the 2 costs. And it's operating, and it's operating well. We have a nice, clean place to keep the females right now as we go through and clean up the county jail. This also affords us extra space to bring back the U.S. Marshals inmates, which is a giant financial benefit for the sheriff's office and for the county to offset some of the cost of feeding inmates. The budget for the jail is about $6 million, and that's just about enough to do it. There is no frivolous spending, and I don't know what that spending would be, but we're feeding inmates, we're clothing inmates, we're paying our employees, and we're paying the light bill, and that's about all there is to it.
Thank you. Mr. Apple, you will start us with the next question. As a follow-up question, currently the sheriff's budget is approximately 51% of the county's general fund. Taxpayers want security and protection, but expect their elected officials to be good stewards of their taxpayer dollars. What plans, if any, do you have to streamline the budget and make the office of sheriff more efficient than the current approximately 51% of the budget?
So as I do not know all the ins and outs of the budget, it's really hard to speak on what I would do, what I would cut out, what I would keep. I wouldn't be able to speak on it until I have that in front of me. But the main point of why I'm here is I feel like the Lord called me to put in and run this race. And part of that was being a good steward, because, you know, sometimes we like to spend money on shiny stuff. And the Lord laid it on my heart to, whatever the sheriff's salary is, whatever that position makes, to reinvest it. And I don't want to campaign on false promises. So I've already talked with the commission back in November, or a commissioner in November of last year. And it is possible to cut my earnings, my wages down to $50,000, and take the excess money, whatever it is, and reinvest it into the guys. Because across the board, most law enforcement agencies in the country, not even just Alabama, don't take the time to reinvest into their people. So whatever if it's $1,000 or if it's $100,000 extra over the $50,000, I plan to take that, reinvest it, and hopefully streamline the budget by going through every little penny that we spend, and if it's not necessary, cutting it out.
Thank you. Mr. Hurst?
So we've looked to do the very same thing. I have a degree in accounting, and that's one of the things that I have focused on, is making sure that we're spending what we can correctly. The county budget isn't really the problem. We are 51% of the general fund budget, but we're not 51% of the county's entire budget. There's all kind of other earmarked money that's not being counted in that. In addition, we're about half of the county's workforce, and we're the only department in the county that's 24 hours a day. So that's where the cost comes from. And of the about $12 million that it takes to run the sheriff's office, most of that is going to feeding the inmates in the jail and all of those things. It's salaries and things. It's not frivolous spending. Most of the discretionary spending comes out of the sheriff's office, sheriff's law enforcement fund that exists through several funding mechanisms that are currently being cut constantly. We just lost another about $18,000 a month because of an FCC ruling for jail money. All that money pays for every bit of the sheriff's office training, all 149 employees training, hotel rooms when they have to go out of town, equipment. It pays for most of the cars. The county does provide some money for cars, but it pays for the most of the cars. That's what our money is being spent on. I don't have anything nice and shiny except for a car that I have to drive. And if you don't have nice vehicles, you will not get people to come to work for you. That's one of the things that we battle too. And we're actively working with the commission and the CFO to find a better way to staff our fleet so that we don't have to keep vehicles so long. So that's pretty much what we're doing. We went through, I have cut a few things that I thought were a little bit too much. We had some cell phones we didn't need. We turned them off. We had some vehicles that we didn't need. We got those off the county's inventory so that they're not on the insurance. And we've tightened up what we can tighten up, but there's nothing else left. We just need to be smart and then find revenue sources, which we're doing with all the grants. We've applied for several grants. We got about $500,000 or $600,000 worth in the last year.
Mr. Hurst, you can stay there. You're next to me. As sheriff, how will you ensure professionalism, accountability, and ethical conduct within the department? And is the implementation of body cameras necessary to accomplish that goal?
I do think body cameras are important. I, like most people, were against them when they first came out, and I have found them to be nothing but a blessing. When it comes down to a lot of the complaints, the he said, she said type stuff between a citizen and a deputy, 9 times out of 10, they exonerate the deputy where it wouldn't be able to do that before. There have been times where they've caught people doing stuff they shouldn't do, and if you're doing something you shouldn't do, I don't want you to work for me. I don't want you in law enforcement. I have no problem with firing or arresting a law enforcement officer. We're supposed to be at a higher standard, and I truly believe that. Everybody says that it's a buzzword, and a lot of people don't do it. I'm hands down. I don't like letting people leave under the guise of, I don't want to ruin their career. I just don't want them to work here because they're a bad apple. They need to go somewhere else. I'm for firing them and letting everybody know why they don't work here anymore, because I don't want them in law enforcement. If they leave me and go to work at Anniston and get in trouble there, even though they're an Anniston police officer, they're making me look bad. Not because they work for me, but because I'm a law enforcement officer. A law enforcement officer in Tulsa, Oklahoma does something bad, we get the flack from it too. So, but as far as accountability, we're working through all of our policies. I've hired Lexipol. They're going through to make all our policies legal based, and we have been more uniform in applying supervision and applying discipline. In the past, we had some supervisors that didn't like applying discipline quite as much as they should, and we have stiffened that up so that it's fair across the board and people act like they're supposed to act.
Mr. Collins?
Yeah, so accountability, professionalism on the top end is always going to be a top priority. I came from a culture as an Alabama State Trooper where professionalism, it was in your uniform. There was the creased uniforms, it was the hats, it was just the way that you carried yourself. As far as accountability, that starts at the top. That starts with your sheriff, and that should go down through your command structure. I like what was just stated about we're not going to tolerate bad officers. We're not going to tolerate nor support that type of effort. If I've got to keep my thumb on you, you're gone, you're out, you're not going to be working for me. As far as body cameras go, kind of the same mindset when they first came out. I thought they were going to be more of a curse than a blessing, but recent statistics do show that a lot of the footage where people complain about officer malpractice and malfeasance is unfounded because everybody gets to the down and dirty of the situation by looking at the footage. So I think that they are a huge asset whenever it comes to law enforcement presence.
Mr. Allen?
So I like body cameras. I wasn't ever around before we didn't have body cameras, so that's all I've ever known. But I had a personal experience from working both at Anniston and at the county, and having the body camera on has most definitely saved me from complaints. People said I did things that I didn't do, and they filed complaints, and then they were unfounded once we sat down and watched the body camera footage. So I do think they're great, and I think the public should have access to them when there's cases or critical incidents, that as soon as it can be released in its full entirety with all of the facts of the situation, so it paints a full picture, no editing, no clipping, no hiding anything, whether it's good or bad. If we as the Sheriff's Office, part of the accountability plan that I have is if we do something good, we'll talk about it, but also if we do something bad, we're not sweeping anything under the rug, we're not hiding anything from you, because we're all human, we've all made mistakes, we all know the system isn't perfect. We know that, we try to make it as perfect as possible because we're dealing with human lives, and we don't want to mess them up any more than has to be done. And so, it's like Mr. Collins said, it starts at the top. And to ensure accountability, a little testimony is that with the policy restrictions is that it's not enforced evenly, or at least until when I was in there in October, before I was terminated for a policy violation, while my sergeant who put me up for the suspension, which resulted in my termination, was also a violation of policy. And then when speaking with the lieutenant one-on-one afterwards, I brought forth other policy violations that even all the way up to the upper admin were doing and go and check. So policy is policy. If you're gonna enforce it on one, you better enforce it on all. That's how we keep it fair.
Thank you. Mr. Collins, you're up next. As sheriff, you have the largest district in the county and are the only law enforcement leader to be elected to office. Cooperation with other departments seem to be mandatory, and shared duties seem certain to occur. What is your plan to create a professional and cooperative atmosphere with your fellow officers in the county and work closely with them?
I think to a large degree that already exists. So to build on that, one thing that I would look at doing would be having established meetings every month, every other month with the other department heads, department chiefs throughout the county. War game, spread information. What are your deficiencies? What can we help you with? It's always been my experience here locally that the officers of each agency gets along great and have a great working relationship. I think on the upper end sometimes it's been kind of sketchy for whatever reasons because every agency has its own personality, as it should. The sheriff's office is always going to be different than Anniston PD, is going to be different than Oxford PD, and Trooper's going to be different than everybody. That's just the way it is. But I think that you can establish that foundation. It's just like having a great marriage. It's communication. Communicate, have an active system of communication, and don't be afraid to take criticism. Don't be afraid to take credit because we're all in this together. Don't be afraid to give credit.
Thank you. Mr. Apple.
Being on the street for the past almost 8 years, since 2018 till October of last year, I've had the opportunity of, backing other agencies up, having other agencies back me up, where specifically the county, we have folders in our cars that have, and within the districts of all the people have warrants through us in that district, and sometimes it's just us out there, and serving warrants on people is dangerous by yourself. Sometimes we go with Apache or Piedmont, Jacksonville, just agencies, and see if they could back us up and go have some fun trying some warrants. Or a lot of times when people like to take off from us on traffic stops, we end up not just, they leave Anniston, sometimes they don't just stay in Anniston, sometimes they like to go to Oxford, Jacksonville. And so the communication between our dispatch and the upper admin, it's great. It's a pretty good, smooth operating system. There's MOUs, which is memorandums of understanding, signed amongst all agencies for help between agencies. I haven't read those, so I can't speak on the details of what they say, what they allow, but we have a really good system. And all the guys on the bottom have a really good working relationship, and most of the problems come from the heads of agencies getting mad at each other, frustrated, and then sometimes it resolves there, but sometimes it trickles down to us. It's a good system, but we can always find some way to make it better.
Thank you. Mr. Hurst.
I'll echo what Darrell said, that we have fantastic relationships with all the agencies in the county, and it's been that way pretty much the whole time I've worked at the sheriff's office. When I was on the bottom down there, if there were tiffs between agency heads, I didn't know about it, and I haven't seen it since I've been on the upper ends of the sheriff's office. I meet with and speak to most of the agency heads every day. I got the endorsement of every agency head in the county with the exception of one whose agency won't let me do anything political, with a letter to the governor for my appointment. We get along fantastic. We have relationships and have bolstered them or have created relationships between our federal partners, the FBI, the U.S. Marshals, the DEA. We're in contact with them every day about things to force multiply the things that we can't do. U.S. Marshal Service also. It's not just law enforcement that cooperation is important for our county to move forward. We're one big organism, and law enforcement and crime is one of the things that people are looking at when they're looking to move to Calhoun County or to bring their business here. And so Connect Calhoun, I'll give the county the credit for that. They've created that. All of the agency heads in law enforcement But outside of law enforcement, all the department heads for all sorts of different things and politicians are meeting monthly to talk about those very things. And we're consulting on the law enforcement part of it as we're going through. So we've got a great relationship. I don't think I've ever had a crossword with a chief in this county anywhere. And anytime I pick up the phone and call them, they help me every time if they can. And every time they call me, I do the same. And we serve citizens inside the city, outside the city as well. So I have no problem coming in the city to do things when we need to, and I've done well at not stepping on those agencies' toes when I did come in the city. So far we get along really well. There's no issues.
Thank you, Mr. Hurst. We're now to the 2-minute closing statements where the candidates can say whatever that they want to say. Mr. Apple, you're up first.
First off, I'd like to thank everybody for taking time out of their day to be here to listen to us kind of yap and ramble about the visions that we have for the Sheriff's Office to better serve you. And I want to also thank my wife and my family for supporting me through all this, because it's been tough. This is a calling I feel the Lord has called me to bear, and this cross is heavy. I don't take it lightly. This isn't a game. I know I'm not well versed on all the intricate workings, and out of my two competitors, on paper they definitely have far more experience than I do, but I don't plan to hide behind a desk like most agency leadership does throughout Alabama and our county, the nation. And we see I policed for 8 years, and some people that have been in authority over me have been behind the desk for longer than that. I've been in the streets, hardly answer calls, nothing. So my plan is to work. If I have to be at a meeting, I have to be at a meeting, but work shift with the guys. If something's short, hop in on patrol. Go work in the jail, go work in dispatch, wherever I'm needed. I plan to lead from the front, out in front, in the public, riding around, stopping cars, looking for bad guys, helping people the best I can. Because I think that's the difference between a leader and a boss. A boss tells people what to do, a leader shows people what to do. And I want to show y'all that I'm willing, capable, and ready to fight for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Apple. Mr. Hurst.
So this is something that I've worked towards for about 10 years, a little over 10 years. It's been my goal to be sheriff. I have done all of the things that I thought would make me the best candidate, and it was enough to convince the governor. I'm hoping it's enough to convince the people with my work product since I've been sheriff. I have the education, I have the experience. I'm the only one of the three of us that's born and raised right here in Calhoun County. I joke that I can see the building that I was born in from my office, and that's as far as I've made it, and that's really as far as I care to go. Running an agency this size is not something that you can just wake up and decide to do. It takes a lot of planning, a lot of preparation, a lot of education, a lot of experience. I have worked at the Sheriff's Office from side to side, top to bottom, in addition to working a couple of other agencies. Got about 20 years of law enforcement. I know what I'm doing, and so far I've had fantastic success. I ask everybody to go to my website. You can learn more about it there. You can contact me. If you call me, I will call you back. I don't like politicians you can't speak to. Sometimes it takes me a day or two to call you back, and thinking that you're going to get out and stop cars is naive. It takes a sheriff behind a desk. You don't want a sheriff out in the field every day doing things like that. You want them behind the desk running the sheriff's office. We've got people for those things. Also, if I get out there and get myself killed, then you're right back in the same boat with having someone appointed and having to wait 3 or 4 years to get an election. So it isn't a joke. It's a lot of work, and it's very complex, and there's a lot of case law. There's a lot of financial nuance that goes into these things, and budget planning and policy planning. It's not something that you can do easy. So my name is Fallon Hurst, hurstforsheriff.com. If you want to read more about me, contact information is there. Call me, text me, email me, Facebook message me. I'll get back with you. And I appreciate each and every one of your vote on May the 19th. I'd like to shake everybody in the county's hand, but there's 117,000 of you, so I haven't hit every one of you yet. But please contact me, and I'll be glad to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hurst. While we're waiting on Mr. Collins to come up, the next segment of our program is Revenue Commissioners. So if I could get the candidates, Mr. Hodges and Mr. Williamson, to meet with Mr. Mullinax right over here to the exit sign, please. Mr. Collins, you have 2 minutes, sir.
Yes, sir. I wasn't born here. I was born in Fort Payne, Alabama, but I got here as quickly as I could. I started dispatching at the age of 18 when I was a senior in high school. part-time with the sheriff's office in Cab County as a dispatcher on the weekend, sometimes on third shift, sometimes on second shift, just whenever they needed. I grew up around law enforcement. My grandfather was an Alabama State Trooper. I had two great uncles that were Alabama State Troopers, one of which was Bob Collins, who was a four-term sheriff in Jackson County. My dad worked in the DA's office. He worked predominantly narcotics. He ran the drug unit for a long time. I grew up seeing that. When I graduated from high school on Friday, I was working full-time Monday in Fort Payne's 911 Center dispatching. That's all. I grew up around it. That's all I wanted to do. I didn't have to deal with, hey, what do you want to do when you grow up? I wanted to be in law enforcement. To me, that's the pinnacle of public service. Worked in Fort Payne as a police officer, served there as an SRO, which is a highly responsible job field. I love my SROs. They've got a job. It's a busy job. They've got a lot of work to do. I served on the SWAT team in Fort Payne, and I left the state troopers as a shift sergeant from Fort Payne. I had supervision experience right there on the ground. I was the first line boss. What got me down here to this area, I took a position with the Alabama State Trooper post out of Jacksonville. I lived in Heflin. We lived down here. We moved in 2010. We worked the entire post. We worked Cleveland, Clay, Randolph, Talladega, and of course Calhoun County. I fell in love with the people of this county. I like the county. When I retired from the Alabama State Troopers, I worked for the sheriff's office for about a year and a half. I like the people that I work with. I've got the unique combination of years of experience as well as leadership, everything from first line supervision up to management. I was also selected to be one of the assistant post commanders for the trooper post here, and we were short of supervisors. So if anybody has any questions, hit me up on Facebook. I do return my messages as well. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. At this time, the sheriff's portion of the forum, this concludes it. Let's give all these gentlemen a hand. We appreciate their willingness to serve, and what we'll do after each one of our candidates, they'll be around for a little bit. If you want to ask them questions after it's all over, you're welcome to do that. If you want to ask them questions now, I've asked them to go back in the back lobby there and be there if you have specific questions. So gentlemen, we thank you. We'll take a short break for about 3 minutes.